Is the opening scene the most important in a movie? Does it need to be a stunning shot, a standalone narrative, or explore the world we're taken to? We're diving into classics across all eras and genres to bring you our selection of the 10 greatest opening scenes of all time. Cinema is a visual medium, but sometimes the spoken word can be just as effective. A great monologue is a collaboration between director, writer and actor, and when done well, has created some of the most memorable openers in Hollywood. Patton's powerful and patriotic speech helped actor George C. Scott win and turn down an Academy Award. Cate Blanchett's monologue that opens The Fellowship of the Ring prepares the audience for an epic fantasy tale. And Woody Allen confirmed his status as one of the great writers of character in the first minutes of Annie Hall. There really is only one place we could ever go for our favourite though, and that's Francis Ford Coppola's gangland juggernaut, The Godfather.
I believe in America. America has made my fortune, and I raised my daughter in the American fashion.
The film opens with Amerigo Bonacera recounting the story of his daughter beaten by two American men in agonising detail and begging an unseen party for vengeance. The camera slowly pans out, we see the Corleone family for the first time and are transported immediately into Coppola's land of violence and retribution. The director's artistry is everywhere, and it's the perfect way to introduce Don Corleone to the world.
Instead, you come into my house on the day my daughter's to be married and you ask me to do murder.
Sometimes movies don't give us any setup at all. There's no narration, no title cards, little to no context of any kind of what's going on. Sometimes movies like to draw us in by dropping us in media res into the middle of a narrative already in motion. Vertigo opens in the middle of a rooftop foot chase. Dunkirk carries the weight of history as it puts us into the Allies' desperate World War II evacuation. And Goodfellas captures the essence of its three main characters in about 4 lines of dialogue by landing us in their midst with a bump. We're heading to a galaxy far, far away in Star Wars though for our pick in the number 9 spot. After the initial music blast and opening crawl, the camera pans us down into space, deep and vast. Suddenly, a rebel spaceship screams into view. It's on the run, but from what we don't know. And then we see it. An enormous Star Destroyer rumbles over the frame and goes on and on and on. Writer-director George Lucas sets up his world, the powerful empire hunting the diminishing Rebel Alliance with one iconic shot in what might be Star Wars' finest moment. One of the most powerful tools in the filmmaker's arsenal is the montage. An editing technique developed in the earliest days of cinema, it allows directors to break up narrative, skew thematically relevant shots into one cohesive whole, or just tell a story very, very quickly. Manhattan gives us a whistle-stop tour of Woody Allen's beloved New York borough. No Country for Old Men establishes itself as a neo-western with a series of stunning, wide-open range shots. And Watchmen chronicles the history of superheroes in a dazzling 5-minute opening. For sheer tear-duct bursting, heartstring snapping genius though, nothing can match Pixar's unforgettable opening to Up. In a 10-minute masterclass of visual storytelling, we're introduced to Carl and Ellie and then flash forwarded through their life together as a couple. The ups, the downs, the funnies, hopes, fears, and ultimately, the gut-wrenching heartache. It might be the best thing Pixar has done, and that's quite something.
I like you.
What if a movie needs to feed its audience a ton of exposition right from the off? There's some major setup required and a credit sequence or title card just won't cut it. Well, when skillfully executed, there's a stylish and trusted solution in voiceover narration, and that's what we're looking at for our number 7 entry. Max Rokitansky describes his world of fire and blood in Mad Max Fury Road. David Fincher audibly and visually takes us inside the mind of his main character in Fight Club. And Sam Elliott's Stranger instantly establishes the mood of The Big Lebowski with his verbose and laid-back narration. It's in the 1950s where we find our pick though, in the form of Billy Wilder's film noir classic, Sunset Boulevard.
Yes, this is Sunset Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. That's the Homicide Squad.
An opening sequence that covers a few categories in our list, Sunset Boulevard drops us into the middle of a murder scene investigation and combines it with exquisite shot making. What really elevates it though is William Holden's From Beyond the Grave voiceover. Equal parts razor sharp, tragic and brilliant, it was wholly original and influenced generations of filmmakers to come. Throw in the unforgettable imagery of a body face down in a pool and you have one of the most iconic openers in Hollywood.
Just a movie writer with a couple of B pictures to his credit. The poor dope.
Not always an actual scene in the film, the title credit sequence can still play a major role in drawing an audience into a story, introducing characters, or establishing a world. Title credits allow filmmakers an opportunity to introduce us to their movies in thrilling, beautiful and ingenious ways, and that's why it's taking the 6th spot in our rundown. Superman combines iconic titles with an equally iconic score to stunning effect. The Soul Bass-inspired animated titles on Catch Me If You Can are possibly Spielberg's best, and Rosie Perez dance moves in the opening of Do the Right Thing are a near hypnotic way to start the film. Even among these giants though, there's a clear winner for us, and that's Martin Scorsese's masterful sports biopic, Raging Bull. Scorsese opens with a one-shot credit sequence that tells us one thing above all else. This is art. The black and white palette, Robert De Niro's slow-motion shadowboxing, the classical score by Pietro Mascagni. Hollywood legend has it that Brian De Palma cursed Scorsese's name the first time he saw this, and we don't blame him. It's peerless, and that's why it's made it as our number 6 pick. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that's certainly true of our next category, the striking opening image. This is when a filmmaker starts their story with a single shot that has symbolic significance, reveals character, or just drenches us in stunning imagery. Francis Ford Coppola establishes a theme of great beauty juxtaposed against the horrors of war in Apocalypse Now. Back to the Future covers off exposition, foreshadowing and character introduction in one famous shot, and the soaring opening to The Sound of Music is one of the most iconic helicopter shots ever filmed. But it's in the filmography of one of Hollywood's greatest artists where we find our pick, Stanley Kubrick in his dystopian crime nightmare, A Clockwork Orange. The slow zoom out is a Kubrick trademark, and this is the finest and most oft imitated example. We start in close on main character Alex Delage, and a slow move out reveals the rest of his droogs in the extraordinary and frankly bizarre setting of the Korova milk bar. It's surprising, unique, and so very Kubrick. In the era of CGI and digital effects, long one-take tracking shots are one of the few ways for a director to make us think, how did they do that? And when utilised in the opening to a film, they can inspire wonder and awe in an audience. Tracking shots are a load of fun to watch, very difficult to film, and our list just wouldn't be complete without them. The 8-minute one-shot opening to The Player is a technical achievement equal to anything else on this list. Alfonso Cuarón sends us orbiting the Earth in Gravity, and the astonishing tour of a Mexican border town in Orson Welles' Touch of Evil is one of the great director's greatest moments. For our choice though, we're heading to Haddonfield, Illinois, and John Carpenter's seminal slasher, Halloween. In an opening sequence that inspired 1,000 copycats, Carpenter puts us inside the head of a killer. We cross a street in a leafy suburb, enter a house via a back door, creep up the stairs, and brutally stab a young woman to death. In one astounding point-of-view shot, Carpenter invokes suspense and terror by making us helpless to prevent what appears to be our own actions, and then force the Steadicam as a significant filmmaking tool.
You may think they scare me, you're probably right. Black cats and goblins on Halloween night. Trick or treat!
On to number 3, we're looking at the dialogue-based opening. Filmmakers often like to start their movies with a bang, but when character is key, a more indirect approach may be required. The Social Network is an Aaron-Sorkin word whirlwind as Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg is dumped by his long-suffering girlfriend. My Dinner with Andre is a frenzy of greetings, profundity and quarrels that lasts for the entire movie. And Pulp Fiction begins where it ends as Pumpkin and Honey Bunny, aka Ringo and Yolanda, hold up a diner. In at 3 though, and the most recent entry on our list, is the opening scene to Quentin Tarantino's World War II fantasy, Inglourious Basterds.
A German soldier conducts a search of a house suspected of hiding Jews. Where does the hawk look? He looks in the barn, he looks in the attic, he looks in a cellar, he looks everywhere he would hide. But there's so many places it would never occur to a hawk to hide.
Painting a weird and wicked picture of Nazi-occupied France, Tarantino introduces us to his antagonist Hans Lander as he visits a French farmhouse looking for Jewish refugees. In a 17-minute dialogue-heavy opening sequence full of stress and suspense, Tarantino increases our anxiety line by line as Lander slowly takes control of the conversation and breaks the will of French farmer La Padite. It's a masterclass in tension building, all done with nothing but dialogue, and that's why it's made it to number 3 on our list.
You're sheltering enemies of the state, are you not?
Yes.
One of the most impressive types of opening is the standalone narrative. The cold open that kickstarts a movie, but also works almost as its own short film. It's produced some of the most memorable movie moments of all time, and that's what we're discussing for our runner-up position. Kubrick records the dawn of mankind in the miraculous 2001 A Space Odyssey. La La Land evokes the musical heyday of the 50s in its highway hijacking dance sequence. And Sergio Leone created one of the most parodied and stunning openers in Once Upon a Time in the West. Leone came oh so close to taking our number 2 spot, but instead, that honour must go to Christopher Nolan and his sensational bank heist sequence in The Dark Knight. Between the epic opening helicopter shot and final frame of a trail of school buses, Nolan tells a tale of violence, deceit, and the mob, creates the fantastical yet grounded tone that he carries through the rest of the movie, and introduces his villain in Heath Ledger's magnetic Joker. Delivering it all through iconic dialogue, immense cinematography, and jaw-dropping visual effects make this sequence as spectacular as blockbuster filmmaking gets, and is why it made it so high on our list.
Whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
And finally, we've arrived at the top spot. We've discussed great moments in acting, cinematography and writing, but for our number 1 we're focusing on what's become a staple of the modern blockbuster, the big scale action set piece opening. The Wachowskis pushed the boundaries of special effects and blew audiences' minds with Trinity's acrobatic escape in The Matrix. The Omaha beach landing in Saving Private Ryan is visceral, violent and so vividly real. And the opening to Jaws, where an unseen killer shark mauls a late-night skinny dipper, changed films forever in the mid-70s. It's a third Steven Spielberg movie we're going with though. You probably guessed it. Yes, at number 1, it's the enduring and exceptional opening sequence to Raiders of the Lost Ark. This really is as good as it gets. Fitting into almost all of our previous 9 categories, it's an opening sequence more impressive and impactful than most movies' climaxes. In a breathless first 13 minutes, Spielberg and writer Lawrence Kasdan tell us everything we need to know about Indiana Jones, his motivations, his beliefs, his strengths, his flaws, and they set up a world of the supernatural, treachery, booby traps and skullduggery. That they do it all with Indy uttering barely a word and giving us iconic moment after iconic moment is what makes it so special. Spielberg at his best, blockbuster cinema at its best, and opening scenes at their best. So what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with our picks? Did we leave out any of your favourite opening scenes? Let us know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe for more All the Right Movies videos.